And we're back in 11.1 where we're dealing with balancing equations. I left off having a discussion about using larger numbers to balance equations if you're lost, and then reducing them to the lowest whole number ratio. Let me show you what I mean by that. I'm going to scroll. Actually, let's go ahead and stick with methane here just for a second. Let me change colors. Excuse me here. We'll go with green. Let's go ahead and rewrite this equation. We have CH4 plus O2 producing CO2 and H2O. Okay, and let's just say you're completely lost, you have no idea how to balance this equation. What I always suggest is just start plugging in numbers, usually using 2's or 3's or 4's, whatever the case may be. Alright, I'm just going to throw a 4 in front of the CH4 and say, okay, let's start balancing from there. If I don't know what to do, I'm just going to put that number in there. So I have 4 carbons on the reactant side. I only have 1 carbon on the product side, so I'm going to put a 4 there. I have, for hydrogen, I have 4 times 4 is 16 hydrogens on the reactant side. So in order to get 16 on the product side, I'm going to need to put an 8 out in front of the water. Now I have a total of 4 times 2 gives me 8 oxygens with the CO2. I have 8 total oxygens now with the water. That gives me a total of 16. So in order to balance the oxygens, I'm going to need to put an 8 out in front of the oxygens. So now this equation is actually balanced. However, if you notice, they're all divisible. The 4, the 8, the 4, and the 8, they are all divisible by 4. So if I divide through by 4, I can reduce these down to a 1, to 2, to 1, to 2, which matches the equation above it. And so when we balance equations, we are always looking for the lowest whole number ratio. Even though the one in green down below, it was in fact balanced before, that is not how we're going to express that reaction. You always want to reduce it to the lowest whole number ratio. Okay, let's try this again. I'm going to scroll all the way down to the bottom to our tougher reaction down here, just to show you again what we mean. So I'm going to rewrite this thing. We have ammonia. I'm going to go ahead just for a second and leave off the physical states. Oxygen producing NO2 and H2O. So again, you're stuck, you don't know how to balance this thing. If I go ahead and start balancing it and say, well, I have 1 nitrogen, 3 hydrogens, 2 hydrogens. Let's just say again, I don't know how to balance this thing. What if I just started putting in a 6? Okay, so now I have a total of 18 hydrogens. In order to balance my hydrogens, I'm going to need to put a 9 out front here. Now I have a total of 6 nitrogens on the reactant side, so I need to put a 6 out front here. So now I have a total of 6 times 2 is 12 oxygens, plus these 9 oxygens gives me a total of 21 oxygens. Well, I can't put a number out front here, a whole number. So what I'm going to do, like I said before, is I'm just going to double everything and see what happens. So if I double everything, we'll make this into a 12. We'll make this into a 12. We'll make this into an 18. Starting to get into some big numbers, but it still will work. So now I have a total of 12 nitrogens, 12 nitrogens. I have 12 times 3 is 36 hydrogens. 18 times 2 is 36 hydrogens. I have 12 times 2 is 24 oxygens, plus the 18 that go along with the water. So 24 plus 18, you got to add that thing up. That's going to be 42 oxygens. So I'm going to need to put a 21 out front there. And if you look through, the 12, the 21, the 12, and the 18, they are all divisible by 3. So if we divide through everything by 3, you're going to get the 4, the 7, the 4, and the 6. Okay? All of that is to simply show you that if you're not sure on how to balance a particular reaction, go ahead and start putting some numbers in there. You might start running into some large numbers, but it will still work out. The only thing that you'd have to do is just divide through by a common denominator, and that would take you to the lowest whole number ratio. All right? If you need more practice or more help with balancing equations, you can see me. We'd be happy to give you a little more help on that. That concludes 11.1.